I think if you do a startup and you think fundraising is the hardest part about it, you should probably not do the startup.
Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Sylvan.
Laura, a well welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, to this special bonus series. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
You are the co-founder of noii, a platform where you meet new singles every Monday. So, of course, the question comes up immediately. Why did you actually start a dating platform in Switzerland?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I get it asked a lot. I started it... Actually, was very much a coincidence because we started a COVID helping platform where people could connect to, like, I don't know, go shopping or do groceries or whatever. And then it turned into somehow not a dating platform, but people connecting people. Mm-hmm. And two people actually met through this platform and they got together. And then this whole thing got more into dating and... I think it was this like very organic development of the platform. And then we got into dating and we thought, okay, there are a lot of problems with online dating nowadays, so we should change that.
That's quite an interesting pivot, right? You know, from COVID help platform to dating platform. What is the specific thing that you do differently? What makes you unique or also differentiates you from, you know, the many, many other apps that are out there?
Yeah, there are a lot of dating apps.
Right.
I feel like I've used them all by now with fake profiles and everything, but there are a lot. What we found is that most of the dating platforms, they work like you see a picture and you see a short description or whatever, and then you swipe or you scroll through them or whatever. Mm-hmm. Mostly it's swiping. And then you chat to, I don't know, let's say 5 to 10 people at the same time. You chat like just getting to know each other. Mm-hmm. And often people say, I wish I could just talk to them for 5 minutes just to get a little bit more about the person and not only like chatting forth and back and maybe meeting and then realizing, oh, it's definitely not a match.
Right.
So all these matches, they don't really mean anything. And that's what we're trying to change. And we came up with our platform, which is completely video-based, mm-hmm. where you meet someone in a video call for 5 minutes, and then you meet the next person. So it's kind of like a speed dating in an online version. And it's great because after 5 minutes talking to someone and seeing the mimic and, I don't know, gesture right, yeah. and everything, you can really tell, okay, there is a vibe, like we kind of vibe, and it doesn't really even matter what you talk about. It's just about having a conversation for 5 minutes, and that's enough. And what we found is that the quality of the matches after you have 5 minutes talk, which is not a long time, mm-hmm. it's very high, and that goes into more dates in the offline world and actually spending less time in the online dating world.
Amazing. Yeah, you focus on the important stuff there, right? To get them offline, to meet face-to-face, to have quality time, yes, basically.
Definitely.
Amazing. And I also wonder, you know, you as an entrepreneur, how does a typical day look like for you, if such a thing even exists?
I have to say it's actually quite boring because startup is very different to corporate world, but on the other hand, it's very much the same, I think, because for me, I'm the most efficient if I get up at the same time every day, if I don't work until 2 a.m, if I'm not doing like 100 times at the same time, because I think most of us, even though we don't like the idea of it, but most of us actually work like that. We have to get a routine, we have to get our sleep, and that's when we're actually most productive. So for me, it's quite boring. I get up in the morning, I spend a lot of time at the laptop and in calls and in speed dating sometimes. So.
Of course, yeah, that's part of the business.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the power of routines, of habits is really, it's very, very strong.
I think so. When do you get up? in the morning?
Me, it depends a bit because I now work in the American time zone basically with our clients. So it's usually at around 8 o'clock, which is fairly late for Swiss standards, but therefore I also work much longer in the evening due to the time difference. Yeah. What about you?
I get up at 6:30, I think, around that. That works pretty well. I just like the idea of getting up early. I think this is,
that's powerful. Yeah. We're also here to talk about challenges. And I think one of the biggest challenges that you can face with an early stage startup is fundraising. Eventually, you need some funds to build the business, to build the product, to grow. So how did you solve and experience fundraising as a challenge at noii?
It is definitely a challenge. For us, I think it was because in Switzerland, I think around the globe, everywhere you have these events, you have these organizations which are basically supporting startups, which is very important. So in Switzerland, I don't know, it would be SICTIC, Venture Lab, Swiss, and all these kinds of things, Business Angel. But for us, that really did not work. Like, we applied to all these events and the pitching and all, like, we just did all these things, but it never worked out, or we never got invited.
What do you think? Why? Did they think, yet another dating app that's not going to work, or what was the reason?
I think maybe that's one of the reasons. They thought, okay, another dating app. But on the other hand, I think B2C is difficult in Switzerland. There are not a lot of investors that have invested in B2C companies that actually did grow and were a success story. So, and there, I don't even know how many investors, but maybe just a handful that actually invested in a dating app. So it's a new field for them. I think like B2C is a challenge as itself, like with these organizations, because they're not really used to it. They normally invest in, I don't know, Switzerland is not known for building the best dating apps or building the biggest, I don't know, social media platforms or whatever. So I think that was a challenge. And also for the people, like after that did not really work out for us, we really focused on business angels and private people that believed in us as a team and in the idea. And they were just, I think, then we kind of switched our strategy to people that were open for new things. They were really not chilled in a way that they did not care, but they were chilled like, okay, you know what, let's just try it. That was really, that you have, or in our case, we needed people that were open for stuff they maybe didn't really get, or they were like, okay, you know what, I'm just let's just do it. This seems like a fun or cool thing, and I believe in this. But it's not about, like, no one said, okay, send me all these documents and all this data, and I've invested in companies like yours 10 times, so let's do it. It was more the first thing. And I think that is a challenge that there should be more people, even private people, that become business angels, because they want to support young people with ideas and ambitious people with ideas. And they should not care about the numbers in that early stage. Yeah. And the security, kind of, because there is really, really none. But this goes really against our Swiss standards, right? Because you think it has to be a secure investment. I want to, reduce the risks, the downside. So this goes really against our Swiss core values to a certain degree. Do you think that this is the main reason why not more people are active as business angels and invest in early stage companies? Yeah, maybe. And also, I don't know, the risk taking. Maybe it's also a lack of education, that they don't know, where to find good deals or how to structure them or anything of that sort. Yeah, I think so. And also with us now, we have people in there that have never invested in a startup before, which can also be a downside for us, because it is important to have people that have been doing this for quite some time. But on the other hand, those are people, there's just like, you know what, I have all this money. I don't know, but I think in Switzerland there are a lot of people having money at the side. And now I have this money and I could just invest in young people with ideas and see how it goes, and trying to support that. I mean, of course it has to be a good idea, and it has to be a good product and a vision and all these things. But I'm very happy that we found people that were open enough for that. They were like, yeah, let's just do it. So, but actually I have to say that one investor, our lead investor, which was also a challenge to find that person. We were talking about it before. Once you have someone with quite a name in the startup scene that is committed to invest, it just flows like it's nothing. After that, you're just like, yeah, this person actually invested, and then people like, oh, okay, now I'm thinking about it. So
it's crazy, right? But that's also again very Swiss. Nobody wants to make the first commitment. Yes. They always want to see, who else is there to again de-risk, which is very natural. Yeah. But that risk appetite to be the first mover, to go in first into a deal and just make that commitment, that's a bit lacking here. Yeah,
that's true. And he actually pushed us to, when we told him about investors that were asking us for certain documents and numbers and we should like send them all these things, he was like, don't waste your time with that. Like, that's not the investor you want at this time. You want someone who is believing in you and is like, here's my money, just I want you to do everything you can with it. But that's basically what you want them to do. You don't want them to like scan your company, which is not really
at the later stage, sure,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
But at that stage, they probably give you more headaches than actual support.
Yeah, I think so. And also with us, we are a platform, but we're not even an app-based platform yet. And some investors were just asking too much about the technical thing, but we were not like a tech company they knew. Like we're not having like crazy codes or algorithms or everything. So you need to have people that they don't require that from you. Yeah.
And I now also wonder in that regard, what do you think, what role did your personality, you as a founder, play? Because many people say, I don't bet on ideas, I bet on founders or founding teams. So what do you think, how important are you as a founder in that very first fundraising round?
Very important, I think, because for example, my ex-boss, which I worked for, he invested, and people that I've been working for before the startup. So those are people, you don't have to prove them that you are hardworking, because they basically know you're hardworking. Yep. And with an investor you've never met before and they don't know you, you have to prove yourself within a few minutes or hours that you are the person who is going to do that. So I think in an early stage, maybe you're just not there as a person yet to kind of like, to just convince someone that you are that person. So just make it easier for yourself and go to people that already know you, so you don't have to prove yourself as much.
That's a very good tip.
Yeah, go to people that already know you and know how you work and how you are as a person. So it is in the early stage. It's very important, I think. Yeah.
I also wonder, you mentioned, these large initiatives like VentureKick, SigTig, etc. You didn't get funding from them. And I can imagine, if I were the founder of a company that gets rejected, not even invited to pitch, that's quite a frustrating experience. What?
Now we rant about them. So if anyone is listening to this, invite us. No,
but I just wonder, what kept you going in these moments? Why then didn't you just say, well, we tried, they're not interested, let's just give up, we do something else? What kept you going in these moments?
I mean, it was, I don't know, if that would have stopped us, that would have been a really good sign that we shouldn't do this, because I still think fundraising, it is a challenge, but compared to building a product or a company as its own, it's really nothing. It's trying to convince someone giving you your money, but it's not trying to convince thousands of people to use your product, for example. So I don't know, if fundraising, I think if you do a startup and you think fundraising is the hardest part about it, you should probably not do the startup at all.
I love that. Yeah. So, then you're probably working on the wrong thing.
Yeah. I think so.
Had you wished for any additional support in the fundraising process, or for anything else to make it easier for you? I know you now succeeded, but it was not always an easy way, although not as difficult as compared to other things as you just mentioned. But had you wished for any additional support?
I think it's very nice how much information you get on the internet, like also people like you do. You try to educate people on all these fields. So I think you get actually a lot of tips and tools nowadays. But maybe I was wishing for a bit more transparency within the founders ecosystem or startup scene, because yes, we do help each other out, but maybe this is especially a female founding thing, because I still think that we're a bit, we help each other out, but then we're not talking about numbers, we're not talking about names, we're not doing introductions to people, because we think, oh, if I'm doing an introduction to another startup, then I don't get the funding. And, so it's helping, but only to a certain level. So now I try to, for example, just send out your cap table. That's an example. Because someone, if you see an example of someone actually how they did it, it's much easier, and it's much more helpful than just getting a template from the internet. On the other hand, of course, I get that you can't just send out everything to everybody. But so for me, it's important, and maybe we can even make this stronger in Switzerland, to have just few people where you have a really strong bond with, and you really help each other. Like you just share the insights, and that makes it even more valuable.
I love that. That's great. Do you think what players should actually collaborate more closely to make that happen? Of course, founders, but is there anyone else or any other organization that you would like to have involved there to make that happen, to have that closer and more transparent collaboration happening?
I think founders is one, and also founders that are further now, but they, I don't know, sometimes you have to tell them, just think back, how did you do it 5 years ago, because sometimes they're forgetting about it. You talk to them and they tell you stuff that they're facing now, and you're like, yeah, but I mean, you started 5 years ago. How was it at this time? So maybe founder connecting, but also through these different stages. And coming back to the beginning, business angels in a very early stage, how to maybe organizations that can help connecting business angels in a very early stage and startups in a very early stage.
Yeah. And also motivating more people to become business angels.
Yeah,
hopefully.
Definitely. Yeah. Love that. I think that's a huge thing in Switzerland.
Yeah. The money's there, but it should also be invested.
The money's there. Yeah.
So in that regard, we heard about being more, transparent, investing more of your personal money as a business angel in early stage startups. What else can individuals, but also organizations do to make Switzerland more startup from your perspective?
Be aware that startups is some part of the future, and it goes in the same direction. There should be more people becoming business angels, even though they're not in the startup scene that much. Just be aware that this is an opportunity to do something with your money.
Right.
And also getting into the startup scene more from early on, in school, if you're doing apprenticeship or whatever you're doing, just know that this is a field that you could get into.
Basically consider it as a career option, or at least as a thing to support with your money.
Yeah.
Nice. So I also wonder if now you have been very active in the Swiss startup ecosystem. You also vividly participate at different events that we host. Yes. And I wonder, from your perspective, where are we headed as a Swiss startup ecosystem? What trends do you see coming up over the next few years?
I think which is a very good part, and which is definitely growing, is the whole female entrepreneurship and founding scene. And sometimes we don't want to hear about it anymore, but I think as a young woman, I can definitely say there have been things change, or I can basically profit from like stuff that other people fight it for, because for me it's, I said it and I will say it even again, like it's the best time to start a company also as a young woman. And there is a lot of support, and there are also like I met a few male business angels that are looking for female founders, like they're actively looking. So there is stuff going on, which is very, very cool to see. And I think what I would wish for, and I also think that there is something going on, like I said, in the whole B2C scene and startups in that kind of field, that we're not just looking at America and saying, oh, this is all stuff that they're doing. So it's a huge thing, but in Europe it's not. So to shift that.
Yeah. And I think the beautiful part is also that you now act as a role model, so other people can take your journey as an inspiration.
Maybe one day.
I think probably already today. So please also tell us what is next for noii. What have you planned for the next 12 months?
So we are very close to close our first pre-seed round. And after that, it's very much about building a product in Switzerland and trying to grow that. We set up milestones with our investors as well, which I think is a good thing to make it more serious and be like, okay, now we have these milestones not only for us, like we have people looking to these milestones, which for me it's a good pressure, I think. So it's really about the German speaking part in Switzerland now, and building our product with on the technical side, because we have not been doing that. We have been very lean in the first year. So we just started 2 weeks ago on coding the whole platform, and that's going to be very exciting. So,
absolutely, yeah. Very exciting times ahead of you then.
It is.
Also a lot of work, but exciting times. It's great.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of work means a lot of excitement. That's
absolutely.
Good. Yeah.
To wrap up today's episode, we also have some rapid fire questions for you. So I either give you a short question or different options to choose from, and you have to answer in one sentence. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
What was your summer job as a teenager?
It's actually not as a teenager, because I had, and I still have sometimes, now I just do it once a month or something, but I worked last year for I think 2 years part-time it's not a hot dog, it's actually a hot dog startup.
Nice.
But I was working there like selling hot dogs. And funny story about it is that we had once an event, and it was a startup investor event, but they actually, they don't care about the startups, like the people that do the hot dogs. So they just said, okay, we have another event coming up, like who is free to work there? And I said, yeah, why not? And then I realized, because I was doing my startup, I'm like, okay, this is actually a startup event where we're going to sell the hot dogs. So I did meet business angels there, and it was really funny, because I had this clothes on for like selling the hot dogs and doing the hot dogs, and it was this weird situation, like just going after people and be like, hey, I'm actually selling hot dogs now, but usually I'm having my own startup. So I think it's a nice example of like every situation can be an opportunity to meet very interesting people and important people for you.
Always be pitching.
Always be pitching. Yeah.
What are you most proud of in your life?
Oh, that's a hard one.
On purpose.
I went abroad with 14, and that really helps me also now with the startup to just, I think once you have been in the situation where you really jump into cold water, it's easier to just repeat that, because you kind of feel like you can feel it. Okay, this is a situation where I either jump or I'm not going to do it. So now if I get that feeling, I can be more confident in like, okay, you should definitely do it.
I'm ready to jump.
Yeah.
Amazing. Winterthur or Zurich?
I have to say Zurich. I mean, I work in Winterthur, but I don't know. Zurich is just so much cooler. I'm sorry. I love Winterthur as well, but it's just,
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
Yeah. What advice would you give to your younger self?
I was laughing because you sent me this question and it said, what would you say to your 20-year-old self? And I was like, yeah, that's basically...
That's basically you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God, I don't know. I feel like I'm still too young to answer that question because I'm probably going to answer 10 years from now and then I have a really good answer.
That's good. Then we're just going to meet and do the next podcast in 10 years.
I think so, because now I'm just like, I don't know, just keep going.
Right.
Something like that. Yeah.
And the last one for you today, investor or entrepreneur, if you had to choose one?
I would choose entrepreneur and entrepreneurs as investors. So I think that's a good combination.
Absolutely. Laura, thank you so much for stopping by and for coming on the show. All the best, lots of success with noii, and we're very excited to see what you're building and doing in the future.
Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, you can support us by rating our show on Apple Podcasts. This way, we can reach an ever-growing number of aspiring entrepreneurs.